Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Botched Audio Dialogues, also known as BAD. I am Mia, your host for this society, and today I found out something which I didn't know existed, is that every month has an international thing, and this month it is LGBTQ plus History Month. So I've got my friend here. I've got Chris here to talk to me a little bit about our places in the LGBTQ plus community. So, hi, Chris.
Hello.
So, just wanted to start, what do you identify as? What are your pronouns?
So I identify as they, them. But I'm very masculine presenting.
So they, them are the most comfortable pronouns for you. How did that come about?
It's sort of every aspect of my identity has always had a sort of realization moment, a light bulb above the head kind of thing. Particularly with my pronouns, it was during lockdown when a lot of people had a gender identity crisis, and I was at my partner's house, and they have a lot of feminine clothes, and I put some of them on for fun because why not? And I'd just gone to the toilet and I stood looking at myself in the mirror in these clothes and I went, these clothes would really look good if I had boobs. And then I thought about how much that I wanted those, and I was like, there was a moment for me because I'd had this similar thing with my bisexuality, where I went, that's not what cis people think about. Cis people don't think about being the opposite gender. They don't, think about, oh man, I really wish that I could do this and that kind of thing. And they don't, it's just not a way that cis people think. I don't know if cis people question their gender or assess it or whatever, but I imagine that a lot of people do and wind up thinking, you know what? No, I am cis. I'm comfortable with.
Well, it's a freedom that everybody has, really, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
You can think that you might be bisexual, and then there goes my phone. You might think that you're bisexual, and then one day you end up kissing someone of the same sex, and you're like, oh wait, hang on.
Yeah, no.
Maybe I'm not, or maybe I'm just completely gay.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's something that I think is very natural for all human beings.
Exactly.
And also, I like the kind of term that sexuality and gender is very fluid.
It is, yeah, it is.
It changes, it shifts.
It does. I think mine flickers around the same kind of area on the spectrum, but it does, it does move about, I have noticed. Yeah. But yeah, I stood there in the bathroom thinking, oh, well, would you look at that?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I came out to my partner about it, and I was like, I think I would like to go by they them for a bit, and I have been for several months now. I think when was the second lockdown? It was it was a while ago, wasn't it? But yeah, I've been going
I
by
wake
that.
up some mornings and I'm like, is this still a lockdown or just?
But yeah, I've been going by that for several months, at least in the close knit circles. Mm-hmm. I just find it a bit of a hassle to have to come out because I'm, again, for those that can't see me, which is everyone, I am very masculine presenting. So, people assume male and man and that kind of thing. So I just find it difficult to have to come out constantly. So I just don't. I just let it slide.
I remember reading a book once, and a phrase that really stuck with me is that when you're not cis and you're not straight, you're actually coming out every day. And as someone who's gender fluid, and I feel like a massive inconvenience to people because people will be like, oh wait, what are your pronouns today? And I'm going, well, they've changed.
Well, it's nice that people ask, is the point.
Oh yeah, hence why I wear the badges, because then people don't have to ask.
Yeah.
But yeah, and what about your bisexuality? Was it just something when you found out the word and the meaning, you were a bit like, oh, okay, this is what I've been feeling? Or...
I think I always knew what it was. I know there are some people that I've heard of that don't know what bisexuality is, and they think, people are either gay or they're straight. And they think
that's what my school taught.
Exactly.
Sex education, they were like, this is how you reproduce. And then, like, as a side note, oh, and by the way, some people do this.
Yeah,
Like,
by the way, some people do that, and that's it, and that's all you. But that wasn't
mm,
me. I always knew what bisexuality was. I knew it was just both, which is obviously um quite privileged aspect of education that I've been able to have, which was nice. But it was again as another light bulb moment where I was sat watching TV show Grimm, and I think I was on season 5, maybe season 4, and
I was on season 5, episode 2, minute 24.
all I remember is that the series was getting progressively worse. And I don't right. There doesn't need to be a controversial stance. I like when programs have a week by week, mystery, or
Mm,
in this particular case with this particular program, a particular creature week by
yeah,
week. That's just what I like watching. And Grimm had been getting increasingly, longer storylines over several episodes, and then it
yeah.
became, the storyline for the season and the whole show eventually. And I wasn't liking it so much, and I just thought to myself, man, this show is getting worse and worse. I don't know why I keep watching. And and then David Giantoli, the lead actor, took his shirt off immediately after I'd had that thought, and I went, oh, oh, okay.
That'll be
Oh,
why.
that'll be why. I think I was 18 at that point, and I was like, huh, I really never considered it. And then when you sort of realize something like that, or at least if you have one of those moments, you
Mm,
look back over a lot of your life and you go, oh, that wasn't me just thinking that person was really cool. That was a crush. That's what that was.
oh, wait, this makes so much more
Yeah,
sense.
exactly. You go,
Yeah.
of course, yeah, there you go.
You know what? I think my first same-sex crush was Monica from Friends,
Oh, right,
Courtney
yeah.
Cox. It was really weird because I remember sitting there with my parents and my mum's like going, oh, like, Joey's kind of cute. And I'm going, yeah, but what about Monica?
Yeah, but is
Like,
he though?
I mean, like, he's got a really cute personality and that's what I liked about him. But then I was like, but women as well. Um, God, I remember Grimm. That was like that. You just unearthed
It
a
was,
whole
yeah,
memory
it
for
was
me.
that show it was a while ago, wasn't it? That was like 2010s,
Yeah.
which started 12 years ago at the time of this
We
recording.
don't talk about that. We don't talk about the fact we are now entering our 20s.
Oh, don't. I'm looking at my mid-20s now this year. This is a whole thing.
I have like a very specific moment with my sexuality where I was friends with this beautiful girl. I really highly doubt she would ever listen to this. Her name was Lauren. And we'd just be like kind of hanging out together, and I'd be like, why do I want to hold hands with her and like
Yeah.
kiss her and stuff? And I remember a very distinct moment. I was looking into my bathroom mirror and I was like, "You're not a lesbian because you still like men," and that doesn't make sense. So I was like, "You just really admire her, like you just really admire her. She's really pretty. She's clever. She's amazing in every way." And then I went to college and someone explained to me what bisexual was, and I had that moment of, oh.
Oh, that's what that
Oh,
was.
that's what that was.
Oh.
And I was really annoyed because we kind of like nearly danced together at prom. And and at that moment, I remember being like, I really want to ask her out to prom, but like not in that way.
Not in a gay way.
No.
Not in a gay way. I just want to kiss her lips. That's not gay.
Yeah, I just want to hold her and like watch her for ages, like, nothing weird.
Sorry to anyone that we've just had to like. Sorry to anyone that's just realised. Oh, I'm bi, or
Okay,
anything like that.
there's someone sitting there.
Straight people don't think about like snogging people of the same sex. Just FYI.
Actually, do you know what argument I absolutely love is when somebody brings up like, why is it now that like there's suddenly loads of gay people and loads of bisexual like
Oh, man.
non-binary people, and it's an argument I love. And then I go, but like, look at Ian McKellen. How old was he when he came out? He was he was middle age.
Well, that's the thing. I think a lot of
The man's
it's
70 now.
yeah. He's in his 70s easily. I
Yeah.
think see that is a very sad statement when people ask that. When
Yeah,
people
and
ask that
it's-
question, because
I find
obviously,
it invalidating as well.
well, it's not just invalidating of the existence of queer people as a general concept, but it's invalidating of basically, of course, the AIDS epidemic that swept through most of the Western world,
Oh my god, yeah.
killing so many LGBT folks.
Mm,
And the reason that a lot of people didn't get treatment is because there was no funding put into
yeah.
it, which was because it was predominantly, well, initially
The LGBTQ
it was
plus community.
yeah, associated with that, which meant that no one wanted to help. And obviously people did want to help, but there's no money. The government certainly weren't doing anything about it. It was only once it started spreading into the cis het community
Yeah.
and became a
Well,
real problem.
especially and with the white cis
Yeah,
het
exactly,
community as
exactly.
well. Sprinkle a little bit of colonialism in there.
Yeah, oh, love it.
Yeah, there was I remember reading a story about a man who was, he had to be about 13, 14 during the AIDS epidemic.
Mm.
And his entire family were homosexual men.
Mm.
And he had to sit there and watch his whole family disappear in front of his eyes because nobody was helping.
Yeah.
His poor dads were there, like, watching his uncles just swept away by this horrible disease. And it was only actually recently, which I found really upsetting, that homosexuality couldn't be taught in school until I think it was 2000. They abolished that in 2001.
Yeah, it was really recent.
Yeah,
and
that was
even
20 years ago.
even then, at the time of this recording, as far as I'm aware, Scotland is the only country in the entire world to have mandated LGBT plus history as part of its curriculum.
Well, I always grew up with my parents saying, just want to let you know that we love and accept you, whether you're with a man or a woman. And then they'd say, or both. And because I knew no terminology, I was like, huh?
What does that mean?
Yeah. And then I remember when I kind of came out and I started experimenting with pronouns, my parents actually came up to me and went, do you mind talking to your little sister about all this? Because we realised that schools don't teach it. And I was like, yes,
no
and I was like, here's a petition if you want to change that.
Yeah.
But I've been reading. This was completely coincidence. I didn't mean to pick this book up. It just happened to be the right month to read it. Was The Naked Civil Servant by Quentin Crisp. I think I've been talking to you about it.
You may have mentioned it.
Yeah. But it's about a gay man who dresses in women's clothes and wears makeup.
Oh yes.
During the Second World War, and he's like, the entire book is his account of living unapologetically in a world that would kill him. And it's so upsetting, and it really makes it, like, every single time I close that book, it makes me sit there and go, oh my god, like, we have come so far. The protesting that we've done, the petitions we've signed, everything we've done has, like, been all worth it for us two to be sitting here and talking so openly about it.
Absolutely. I think that is another thing that we have to, that has to be touched on as well, is that, the protests for gay rights and for, any LGBT rights have never been, the kind of protests that they teach you in school to be very good and to be very nice to the people that hate you.
So sit there quietly
and
sit there quietly with your signs.
Yeah, exactly. That has never been the case.
Which also kill the bill because they're trying to
get me started.
That's for another day.
That's a different podcast. That's a different subject. But yeah, I will mildly touch on things like that by just saying the LGBT community has never achieved any rights by extremely passive activism and
Stonewall
a lot
riots.
of Stonewall, absolutely the first thing that comes to mind.
Well, I think it was probably the biggest turning point in
exactly.
LGBTQ plus
humanity
and community.
So if petitions are great, love petitions, but there is something to be said for being a little more disruptive of things because especially what we're seeing with the whole Kill the Bill thing is an end to the age of protest, an end to the right of protest, which is
and it's like you can. I think when people think of protest, they do think of
they think of the signs, the signs and the chanting, basically.
Yeah, and I'm going to put big air quotes around this: the violent side of protesting.
Quote unquote, yeah.
Yeah, quote unquote. Thank you. When really, like, if you think of Greta Thunberg, she sat in front of Parliament at 13, 14 and protested for climate change.
And that worked.
And that
There
worked.
are now no coal-fired power plants anywhere.
I'm trying to bring a positive story.
The UK is 100% reliant on green energy.
If you can't see, I'm taping Chris's mouth right. I know, but it's like the Kilda Bill is trying to like stop peaceful protesting.
Exactly, and I think what they do,
and that's silencing voices.
I think, well, it's not just silencing voices. It is putting a lid on the saucepan, if you like. It is covering up the pressure valve that is there, because any protest that creates the mild inconvenience to the bourgeoisie has always been met with irritation, and I think that's what this whole policing bill is a reaction to. Is they are getting irritated by the protests that have been made, quite rightly, good.
Yeah.
But the thing is that they don't realise, hey, if we make peaceful protesting illegal, essentially, there's only one other option left, folks, and they hate that one even more.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, exactly. But back onto the LGBT stuff.
Yeah, I know. We did say that the Kilda Bill's for another day, and then we've just gone,
you know what, never mind, we'll go on to it for 5 minutes, that's fine.
If you couldn't hear that was me typing.
But yeah, I think, just to swing it back round to the LGBT realm, another piece of media, just because you mentioned the book you're reading, another piece of media that is really good for not just protests, by the way, and LGBT youth, but just general acceptance, is a film called Pride, which I watched fairly recently. Excellent film, so good. Set during the AIDS epidemic and things like that, and it was such an excellent film. When I don't want to spoil the ending for anyone that wants to go and watch it.
I'm covering my ears as you speak.
But the ending is absolutely heartbreaking and really rams home just how much of a problem, governments, people in power have been towards the LGBT plus group. Not just them, everyone else. Let's be real. Yeah. But, that's not this month's podcast. But I think especially with education, still lacking in this area.
Absolutely, because I had my sex ed education back in 2014,
Jesus.
And like I said, it was like a footnote.
Yeah, absolutely. I think mine was. Oh, where do we start? So if we think about sex ed, like as a general concept, and then start, I don't know. It's been a while for me. I'm not gonna lie. It's been a while since school.
Poor teacher. My poor teacher standing in front of the class and being like, "Let's get this over with."
Yeah, it's.
This is a condom. Please use it.
It's been a while since I was at school. But if we're talking like high school kind of age, around 14 kind of thing. For me that was 2012, and. There was not. You remember when everyone thought we were going to die in 2012?
Oh my god, I remember that.
Yeah.
Everyone actually got under their desks at my school.
Man, I wish it had happened. There was very little mention. It was all sex, obviously. There was a lot of sex, and this is what you do. This is what you don't do. This is how this works.
Stay safe.
This is normal. Stay safe and all that. But I think, we'd watched terrible videos from the 80s, which even back then seemed even older to us, about, LGBT youth and things like that. But there's so little coverage in that, because I think, if I'm thinking back, all I can actually genuinely remember is gay stuff. All I can remember is,
I distinctly remember
gays accept, we accept gays.
Yeah.
Being gay is okay and all that kind of
I distinctly remember seeing
slinging.
it as being like, men can love men, and then that was it.
Yeah, exactly.
And I was like, put it on my hand like, hello.
To be fair,
I want to kiss girls, is that okay?
To be fair, I cannot imagine how overly sexualized the yeah, exactly. I can't imagine how overly sexualized WLW portrayals would have been in those terrible 80s PSAs.
Yeah.
But so
oh no,
we missed out on one thing, and maybe we missed.
So I think
There's a bullet being dodged. There's lots that weren't.
so if we can take anything away from this podcast is that we need to get sex education like majorly upgraded.
Oh, so much. So I mean, again, all I can remember coverage being was just gays exist. Don't be mean to them, and that was it. I remember no trans coverage at all,
No.
let alone,
Gender.
finer gender discussions like non-binary identities and things like that.
Yeah.
And then I don't remember anything about bisexuality. I think it got mentioned maybe once by a teacher where they were like, yeah, you can like men, that makes you gay, and if you like women, that makes you straight, and there's
And
other
there's a
stuff
bunch
in
of stuff
between.
in between.
There's stuff in between, and it's sort of like,
That doesn't
okay,
matter.
thanks. Again, to be honest, obviously, talking about sex education and teaching children this kind of stuff, I don't know what the current culture is amongst very young people regarding this stuff.
I think the internet helps a lot.
It probably does.
As someone whose little sister is kind of hitting that sex education age, she has come out as asexual, and I'm honestly like jealous in a good way that she does have the
ability.
Not the ability, but like the media around her to talk about this.
Yeah.
Like there's TikTok pages, obviously Instagram, Facebook, and TV shows that now have openly panned by or just queer characters in general.
Yeah, and there's a lot of space for it now as well.
Yeah, so honestly, schools need to catch up because if the media is caught up
yeah,
that much,
yeah, exactly.
please.
That was something I sort of wanted to touch on was young people in that space, because I know when I was young, that was early 2010s, and gay was still very much an insult to adults as well, not just to children. Yeah. When kids do it, it's
I used to wear a Gap shirt, and people would be like, gay and proud.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm like, and what is wrong with that?
How is that an insult,
Yeah.
But, if they tried to do sex ed on certainly the finer aspects of gender and sexuality back when I was in school, the kids wouldn't have had it. There's just no way. Now, obviously, they get taught this by parents and peers and stuff like that. But I don't think that, if you dropped those lessons on us, that would have gone down too well with a lot of the kids in the class. Not me personally. I didn't care about any of the lessons. But, so it would have just been filed under I don't care. But
just sitting at the back of the class with your little rubber band.
Well, I had a little bit of paper. I'd draw stuff on it. But yeah.
Do I care about this? No.
But yeah, that was something I don't know about it. I don't know what the culture is like amongst teenagers and younger people. It's so terrifying to sort of think, oh man, I wonder what teenagers think of this.
Oh, they're terrifying.
It's a terrifying concept to the fact I don't know what young people like now. I don't know what young people are about. I feel very old when I have to admit that I am completely out of touch with anyone below, total adult, yeah, pretty much. But total adulthood, certainly, I have no idea.
Yeah.
There's people in my classes that are younger than my own younger sister, and I always have my younger sister as like a benchmark for what the younger people think. But as you get older, age gaps get smaller, or they certainly mean a lot less. So, talking to my sister about stuff, she comes back and me, I don't know, mate.
Yeah. Well, I think that is everything.
Yeah,
today.
Let's cover that today.
How well can we cover this? To summarise.
I'd say to
summarise.
Education, certainly schooling in England needs to catch up. I think absolutely we should have more LGBT history. There should certainly be more coverage of LGBT identities in the classroom. That's very important.
So I encourage people to go and look it up.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it should be a starting point in school.
It's our school's responsibility to be able to teach us about as much as we need. But also if you're curious,
And there's only so many hours in a day for them anyway.
There's not enough hours in the day, Chris. But thank you for joining me today.
That's all right. Thank you
It
very
has
much.
been a pleasure.
I'll just take a moment to say, if you need to protest something, do protest it in a way that is disruptive enough to get attention, because sometimes the sending an email or writing it in triplicate and sending a letter is not enough. And, with the policing bill coming in, those may be very limited options as is anyway.
Yeah. The thing is, stand up for what you're passionate for.
Yeah, stand up for what you're passionate about. Stand up for your own individual rights. And those rights do not extend to you necessarily being comfortable.
All right, thank you, Chris.
Thanks for having me on.